Long ago, in a land called Judah, there was a time when food became very scarce. During this difficult period, a family named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, made a very big decision. They chose to leave their hometown of Bethlehem in Judah and travel to a nearby country called Moab, hoping to find enough food and a better life there. Life in Judah had become very hard for many people due to a severe famine. This meant that the fields did not grow enough crops, and there was not enough food for everyone. So, moving to another country was a way for families like Elimelech's to survive. In Moab, they settled down, and the two sons eventually married local women. Our story focuses on Naomi, a kind woman from Bethlehem, and Ruth, a young woman from Moab. Ruth was the wife of Mahlon, one of Naomi's sons. These two women, one older and one younger, found themselves connected by marriage and by the experiences they shared in Moab. For a time, life in Moab seemed to offer some stability for Naomi's family. However, sorrow soon found them. First, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, passed away. Some years later, both of her sons, Mahlon and Chilion, also died. This left Naomi a widow with no children in a foreign land, with only her two daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah. This was a time of great loss and hardship. One day, Naomi heard news that the famine in Judah had ended. She learned that the Lord had visited his people and provided food for them once again. Feeling that there was no reason to stay in Moab, and believing that God was now restoring her homeland, Naomi decided to return to Bethlehem, her original home. This decision marked a turning point, as it meant leaving her current life behind and embarking on a journey back to her roots. Naomi then turned to her two daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, and told them to go back to their own mothers' homes in Moab. She wished them well and prayed that they would find new husbands and new lives among their own people. Orpah, though sad, chose to return to her family. But Ruth, with a deep sense of loyalty and love for Naomi, refused to leave her. She declared that she would go wherever Naomi went, and that Naomi's people would be her people. So, Naomi and Ruth set out on the long journey back to Bethlehem. When they arrived, however, they were two widows with no means of support in a new place for Ruth. They faced significant challenges. They had no land to farm, no family to rely on for daily food, and Ruth, being a Moabite, was a stranger in Judah. Poverty and uncertainty cast a shadow over their future. To find food, Ruth went to the fields to glean, which meant picking up leftover grain after the harvesters had passed. As fate would have it, she began working in a field belonging to a man named Boaz. Boaz was a relative of Naomi's late husband, Elimelech, and he was known as a man of good character. When Boaz saw Ruth working diligently in his field, he took notice of her. Boaz, having heard about Ruth's kindness to Naomi and her dedication, showed her great favor. He told his workers to let her glean freely and even to leave extra bundles of grain for her to find. He also invited her to eat with his own reapers and offered her protection in his fields. Ruth returned home that evening with a generous amount of grain, far more than she could have expected, bringing a sense of relief and hope to Naomi. Over the next weeks and months, the situation for Naomi and Ruth slowly but surely improved. Naomi, understanding the customs of their land, recognized Boaz's kindness and encouraged Ruth to continue gleaning in his fields. Naomi then guided Ruth on a path that would formalize Boaz's role as a family redeemer. Boaz, being a man of integrity, carefully followed all the legal steps and traditions to marry Ruth and restore Naomi's family name and property. From this story, we can learn a valuable lesson. Loyalty, kindness, and honest hard work can lead to unexpected blessings and new beginnings, even after times of great difficulty. It shows how caring for others and acting with integrity can bring about positive changes for everyone involved. In the end, Ruth married Boaz, and they had a son named Obed. Obed later became the father of Jesse, who was the father of David, a future king of Israel. Through Ruth's loyalty and Boaz's kindness, Naomi's family was not only restored but became part of an important lineage, bringing peace and a hopeful future after a time of great sorrow. Long ago, in a vast and ancient land, stood the mighty Persian Empire. This kingdom stretched across many different regions, from India all the way to Ethiopia, bringing together people from numerous cultures and backgrounds. Life in this grand empire was structured around the king's rule, and everyone lived according to his laws and decrees. During this historical period, the Jewish people resided within the Persian Empire, having been brought there from their homeland. They lived peacefully among other groups, going about their daily lives, working and raising their families. They followed their traditions and customs, just like many other communities living within the king's wide domain. For a time, their lives were stable, interwoven with the fabric of this great kingdom. Among these people was a young woman named Esther. She was Jewish and had become the queen of Persia, chosen by the powerful King Xerxes himself. Queen Esther lived in the royal palace, a place of grand courtyards and intricate gardens. King Xerxes, the absolute ruler, managed the affairs of his enormous empire from his throne room, overseeing his many provinces and their inhabitants. Life for Esther inside the palace was one of routine and regal duties. She was the queen, a position of great honor and influence. However, a significant threat had recently emerged. A powerful official in the kingdom, named Haman, had convinced King Xerxes to issue a decree that would bring harm to all the Jewish people throughout the empire. This terrible situation cast a shadow over their otherwise familiar existence. It was during this time of great danger that Esther's cousin, Mordecai, sent her a crucial message. He reminded her that she had been placed in her royal position for a very important reason. This moment made Esther understand that she, as queen, had a unique opportunity and responsibility. It was as if she had been carefully prepared for this exact time to help her people. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Esther decided to take action. She sent a message back to Mordecai, asking all the Jewish people in the capital city to fast and pray for 3 days. After this period, she resolved to approach King Xerxes, even though it was against the law to come before him without being called. This was a bold and brave choice, as it meant risking her own safety. The task Esther faced was filled with immense challenge and personal risk. According to the laws of the Persian court, anyone who came into the king's inner court without being summoned could be put to death. Only if the king extended his golden scepter to that person would their life be spared. This rule caused natural worry and apprehension for Esther, but she knew the urgency of her people's plight. The key turning point arrived when Esther, after 3 days of preparation, dressed in her royal robes and bravely entered the inner court of the palace, standing opposite the king's throne. When King Xerxes saw Queen Esther standing there, he showed her favor. He extended the golden scepter that was in his hand toward her, indicating that her life was safe and that he was willing to hear her. As a result of the king's kindness, Esther was able to invite King Xerxes and Haman to a special banquet, and then to a second one the following day. During this second gathering, she revealed to the king the plot Haman had devised to harm her people. The king, upon learning of the danger to his queen and her Jewish people, acted to stop the terrible decree, saving them from destruction. Over time, King Xerxes issued a new decree. This new royal message was sent throughout all the provinces, granting the Jewish people the right to defend themselves against those who wished them harm. This allowed them to prepare and protect their families. The Jewish people successfully stood up for themselves, and the danger that had threatened them slowly faded away, bringing peace and security back to their communities. From this story, we can learn a valuable lesson about courage and purpose. It shows us that one person's bravery, even when faced with great difficulty and personal danger, can lead to good outcomes for many others. Esther's choice to act, despite her fears, made a significant difference and saved her people. In the end, the Jewish people celebrated their deliverance, remembering the courageous acts that ensured their safety. They found renewed hope and peace in the vast Persian Empire, a testament to the quiet strength and determination shown by Queen Esther during a critical time. The story we will explore today takes place long ago, in a land that is now known as the Middle East. Imagine a time when people traveled mostly by foot or on donkeys, along dusty roads that wound through hills and valleys. This was a place where different groups of people lived, and sometimes they didn't always get along very well. Life often moved at a slower pace, and people relied on their communities and their faith. In those ancient days, the land was often divided by different beliefs and backgrounds. Many people lived in small villages, and travel between them could be long and sometimes difficult. There were rules and customs that were very important to people's lives, and these often shaped how they treated those who were different from them. This was a world where a person's family and where they came from mattered a great deal. At the center of this story is Jesus, a wise teacher, and a traveler who finds himself on a particular road. He is known for telling stories that help people understand important lessons about life and how to treat each other. We also meet a traveler who is on a journey, and later, a man from a group called the Samaritans, who were often looked upon differently by others. On this particular day, a traveler was making his way down a road. He was likely going about his usual business, perhaps on his way to a nearby town or village. The road was familiar, and the journey seemed ordinary. It was a time of day like any other, with the sun shining and the sounds of nature all around. Everything appeared to be as it normally was. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. This traveler was attacked and left badly injured by the side of the road. He was in great pain and could not help himself. He lay there, helpless, with no one around to offer aid. This was a moment of crisis, and his need for help was urgent. He was completely at the mercy of whoever might pass by. As the injured man lay by the roadside, several people who were also traveling came by. The first was a priest, a religious leader. He saw the man, but he walked by on the other side of the road, not stopping to help. Then, another important person, a Levite, also passed by. He too saw the injured man and went on his way without offering any assistance. The road was now empty, and the injured traveler was still alone and in pain. Then, another person approached. This was a Samaritan, a person from a group that many others in that area did not treat kindly. Instead of ignoring the man in need, this Samaritan saw him and felt a deep sense of care and concern. This Samaritan saw that the injured man was suffering. He understood that the man needed immediate help. Even though there were differences between their groups, the Samaritan's heart went out to the suffering traveler. He saw a person in need and decided to do something about it. This was a moment where kindness and compassion took over. The Samaritan immediately stopped his journey. He went over to the injured man and gently tended to his wounds. He poured oil and wine on them to clean and soothe them, just as a doctor might. Then, he carefully bandaged the man's hurts to protect them. He did all of this with great care and attention. After tending to the man's injuries, the Samaritan put him on his own donkey. He then led the donkey to a nearby inn, a place where travelers could rest. Once they arrived, the Samaritan continued to care for the injured man. He stayed with him through the night, making sure he was comfortable and safe. The next morning, the Samaritan had to continue his own journey. But he didn't just leave. He paid the innkeeper for the injured man's stay, telling him to continue to care for him. The Samaritan promised that if there were any extra costs, he would repay them when he returned. He made sure the man was cared for before he left. This story teaches us a very important lesson. It shows us that love and kindness are not limited by who someone is or where they come from. We should help anyone who is in need, no matter if they are like us or different. True compassion means showing care and mercy to all people, without exceptions. And so, the Samaritan traveler continued on his way, having shown an extraordinary act of kindness. The injured man, who had been left alone, was now safe and receiving care, all because one person chose to stop and help. This act of selfless giving reminds us of the power of compassion to bridge divides and heal wounds, leaving a quiet testament to the good that can be found in the world. In ancient times, in a land of rolling hills and wide, green pastures, people lived a life closely connected to the land. Shepherds were a common sight, tending to their flocks. Their days were spent caring for sheep, which provided much of what families needed to live and thrive. This setting is where our story begins, in a simple world where the well-being of animals was a central part of daily existence. During those days, life for many centered around their animals, especially sheep. Flocks were not just groups of animals. They were a family's livelihood and often their entire wealth. Before the main events of our story, shepherds spent their lives guiding their sheep to the best grazing spots, making sure they had fresh water, and protecting them from any harm. It was a dedicated and constant effort to keep every single sheep safe and accounted for, every day and night. Our main character in this story is a shepherd. He was a kind and watchful man whose life revolved around his flock. He knew each of his sheep individually, recognizing their unique qualities and habits. His daily routine involved waking with the sun, leading his sheep out to pasture, and carefully watching over them as they grazed. He made sure they were fed, watered, and protected, fulfilling his role with great care and attention to every animal under his watch. On one particular day, the shepherd had a flock of 100 sheep. They were all together, grazing peacefully in a familiar field under the bright sun. The scene was calm and orderly. The sheep were comfortable, moving slowly across the grass, and the shepherd felt a sense of peace as he observed them. Everything seemed stable and familiar, just as it had been for many days, with all the sheep safely accounted for within the shepherd's sight. As the day began to draw to a close and the shepherd prepared to gather his flock, he counted his sheep, as was his custom. To his surprise and concern, he discovered that one of his sheep was missing. It had wandered away from the safety of the group. The shepherd knew immediately that one of his 100 precious sheep was now lost and alone, prompting him to take action. Without hesitation, the shepherd decided what he must do. He could not leave a single sheep to fend for itself. So, he carefully placed the 99 sheep that were safe in a secure and known location, perhaps a protected fold or a well-guarded part of the pasture. Then, he immediately set off to search for the one sheep that had strayed, beginning his journey into the vast landscape. The search for the lost sheep was a difficult undertaking. The terrain was rough and uneven, with steep hillsides, rocky paths, and thick, thorny bushes that could hide a small sheep. The weather could be unpredictable, and the daylight was fading. The shepherd faced the challenge of searching a wide area for one small creature, knowing that every moment counted and that the lost sheep could be in danger or feel scared. After a determined and careful search, moving over many miles and through various landscapes, the shepherd finally experienced a key turning point. In the distance, he saw a small figure, and as he drew closer, he realized it was the lost sheep. It was alone, far from the flock, but now it was within his sight. This moment marked the end of the search and the beginning of the return to safety. With the lost sheep found, the shepherd felt a wave of happiness and relief. He gently approached the sheep, which was likely tired and confused. He carefully picked it up, cradling it in his arms, and then tenderly placed it upon his shoulders for the journey back. This loving gesture showed his immense joy and care for the animal he had sought so diligently. Upon returning to his home or to the main flock, the shepherd was so filled with happiness that he wanted to share it. He called together his friends and neighbors, inviting them to join in his celebration. He explained to them how he had lost one of his sheep and, after a long search, had found it. Everyone shared in his relief and happiness that the wandering sheep was now safely back with the rest of the flock. This story teaches us a simple but important lesson. Every single sheep, even just 1 out of 100, is extremely valuable and important to the shepherd. It shows that each individual life holds great worth and that care is extended to all, especially to those who might be lost or vulnerable. The shepherd's actions demonstrate a profound and unwavering commitment to the well-being of every single member of his flock. With the lost sheep now safely reunited with the others, the shepherd's flock was complete once more. All the sheep were together again, grazing peacefully under the watchful eye of their caring shepherd. The journey had ended, and a sense of calm and completeness settled over the pasture, reminding everyone of the value of each cherished life.